I caught my fiancée in our bedroom with a man who cleans septic tanks for a living. I saw it. With my own eyes. She laughed when she saw me. Not like she was caught, like I was the joke. I was supposed to marry her in 6 weeks. Now, I'm planning something else entirely. Let me tell you how it started. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I left work early. My boss let me go home around 3 since I'd been covering double shifts the week before. I didn't text her. I thought I'd surprise her. I stopped on the way to pick up her favorite blueberry muffins. I even thought I might ask her if she wanted to move the wedding up. That's how in love I was. When I pulled into the driveway, his truck was there. Beat up, rust on the sides, the logo for Miller Waste Solutions spray-painted in faded orange across the back. I remember squinting at it. Thought maybe it was a neighbor's. But then I noticed her car. And his boots on our porch. Big, muddy work boots, like he'd just stepped out of a sewer. Still, I didn't let myself believe it. I thought maybe he was here for a job. Something about the sink. Something about a clogged line. But when I opened the door, I didn't hear a drill. I didn't hear anything. Just low voices. Then a laugh, her laugh. But it wasn't the laugh she gave me. It was high and cruel, like she was mocking something. Or someone. I walked down the hall. Our bedroom door was half open. I could see his jeans on the floor, his utility belt hanging on the doorknob. Her leg. The curve of it. The sound of him saying something about a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. And then, her response, that's more than I can say for my fiancée. I pushed the door open. She didn't scream. She didn't cover up. She looked me dead in the eye and smiled. Oh, she said, like she'd forgotten I existed. You're home early. The guy looked confused, tried to grab his pants, but she stopped him. No, let him see. He needs to grow up sometime. I froze. She stood up, not caring that she was fully exposed, and walked past me into the hallway like she was grabbing a glass of water. You're always so trusting, she said over her shoulder. That's your problem. You actually thought I wanted to marry you. I didn't follow her. I didn't say a word. I just stood there while the man who literally worked in human waste scrambled to dress himself in the home I paid for. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in the kitchen, her muffin untouched on the table, staring at the wall. And that's when I knew she thought I'd roll over and take it. She thought I'd beg. She had no idea what I was about to become. She didn't leave that night. That's what still gets to me. She didn't pack a bag or slam the door or even pretend to be sorry. She showered. In our bathroom. Hummed while doing it. Wore my hoodie afterward and walked around barefoot like nothing had happened. I sat on the edge of the couch in shock, watching her eat the muffin I brought her, licking crumbs off her fingers. You're seriously just gonna sit there? She asked. Like a kicked puppy? I didn't answer. I didn't know how. My whole body felt numb. My thoughts were slow, thick like syrup. I was still waiting to wake up. I kept thinking this wasn't real, that maybe I was having some kind of nightmare. But she kept talking. He's not even that good looking, she said, mouth half full. That's probably what you're wondering, right? Why am a septic guy? She laughed to herself. Because he listens. Because he knows what he wants. Because he's not scared of a little mess. She pointed her thumb at me like I was a bug on her shoe. You flinch when I raise my voice. I loved you, I said, barely above a whisper. And that's exactly why I did it, she replied, smiling. Because you'd never do anything about it. You're too weak. She left her plate on the coffee table, stretched like she was tired, and said, Anyway, you should probably sleep on the couch tonight. I don't want to feel your whining energy in the bed. I actually nodded. I was so broken in that moment I nodded. That night I laid there in the dark, curled up with a blanket that still smelled like her. I kept replaying it, her hand on his chest, her voice laughing at my name. The way she looked through me, not at me. And worst of all, her words. You actually thought I wanted to marry you. I kept trying to think of ways to forgive her. Maybe she was confused. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I wasn't enough. And every time I tried to convince myself, I heard her voice in my head, You're too weak. The next morning, she wore my shirt to make coffee. You gonna cry again? She asked, glancing over her shoulder. Maybe you should call your mom. Tell her your little heart's broken. I stood up, trying to find my voice. We need to talk. She turned to me, mug in hand, raised her eyebrows. About what? You forgiving me? Please. Don't embarrass yourself. I opened my mouth to say something. Anything that would make her take this seriously. But all I managed was, why? She laughed. Really laughed. Full belly, shaking shoulders. She had to set the mug down. You really don't get it, do you? She said. You were convenient. Steady. Predictable. like a dog that sits when I snap my fingers. I needed someone boring to come home to. I felt something snap in me. Not anger. Not yet. Just a low, hollow click. A switch. She mistook my silence for surrender. She patted my chest and said, "You'll get over it. Or you won't. Doesn't really matter to me." Then she left for work, wearing the ring I bought her. That was the moment I stopped trying to forgive her. That was the moment I decided to make her regret ever thinking I was weak. It took me 3 days to stop feeling like a ghost in my own house. She came and went like everything was fine. Smiling, texting, talking loudly on the phone to people I didn't recognize. I started listening closely. Not asking, listening. Watching. She didn't even bother to hide it. One night, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. A message popped up from someone saved as Terry, maintenance. It read, "Same time Thursday." I missed that laugh. Maintenance. I worked in finance. I paid for our apartment, our bills, her car. And she was scheduling rendezvous with sewer cleaners and janitors in my bed, with my sheets, under the roof I paid for. I didn't confront her. Not yet. That night, I sat on the bathroom floor and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked pale, weak, like someone she would laugh at, someone she wouldn't fear losing. That's when I realized I needed to stop being me. I pulled out my old laptop, the one I hadn't touched since college, dug through old files, old connections. I knew things about people. I used to help small business owners with their taxes, including the kind of guys who didn't always want those taxes reported. Let's just say they owed me favors. I made a list. Her gym, her nail salon, the venue where we booked our wedding, every place she bragged about, every business she dropped my name at to get discounts, every person who ever smiled at me because I paid their invoice. I added them to the list. Next came the accounts. We had a joint bank account, but I had separate savings she never knew about. I'd kept it hidden out of instinct. Call it fear, call it insecurity. I'd always worried she'd leave me, and I wanted to be able to survive if she did. Now that account would fund her lesson. I went to the venue first. "Hi," I said with a practiced smile. "I need to cancel our wedding. Something came up." The coordinator gasped. "Oh no, are you two all right?" "Not really," I replied. "She cheated on me with a janitor. In our bed." The woman's face turned pale. I'm so sorry." "It's okay," I said calmly. "But I'd like to make sure she doesn't try to reschedule under my name. Could you flag it?" She nodded. "Of course." Then I contacted the florist, the caterer, the photographer. I made sure she got no refunds. I logged into our wedding website and deleted it. Replaced it with a single line of text. "Event canceled due to betrayal." She found out that night. She stormed into the apartment holding her phone like it was on fire. "What the hell did you do?" I looked up from the couch. "Which part? The website? The venue?" "You embarrassed me." I stood, calm, focused. "You embarrassed yourself." She slapped the phone on the counter. "You're so pathetic. You think this makes you strong? Ruining our wedding." "There is no hour." "Not anymore," I said. "You broke that the second you invited a guy who scrapes grease traps to lie in my bed." She scoffed. "You really think you're clever now, huh?" "No," I said. "Not yet. But I will be." And I meant it. Because this was just the beginning. The first real move came the following Monday. She had this morning ritual, coffee at a boutique cafe near the river, where she liked to take selfies for social media. She always tagged the location, always smiled like she was the happiest woman alive. I never liked it, but I said nothing back then. That was the old me. Now, I saw opportunity. I called the cafe early and asked for the manager. "Hey, this is Evan Collins. My fiancée, Melissa, tall, blonde, drinks oat milk lattes with 2 shots. She's been harassing one of your workers. She made a scene last week. I'd like her banned. I don't want to press charges, just make sure she can't come back." The guy hesitated, but I was polite, insistent, and sounded just desperate enough. "I'm really sorry," I added. "She's not well. If she shows up, maybe suggest she get help." He agreed. At 8:13 a.m., I sat in my car across the street and watched her pull up. She parked, walked in, and 30 seconds later stormed out like someone had slapped her. Her face was beet red. She glanced around, like maybe I was nearby. She looked small for the first time. Alone. I didn't smile. I just watched. That was step 1. Later that day, I logged into our shared streaming services and changed every profile name to the guy she cheated with: Terry the janitor, Marty the rat catcher, Rick the trash king. Then I changed the passwords. She texted me nonstop. Grow up. Seriously? You're embarrassing yourself. I didn't answer. I was at the bank instead, finalizing the transfer of my separate savings into a private account. She always thought she had access to everything. Thought she could drain me if things went south. Wrong. That night, I waited until she came home. She tossed her bag down and glared at me. What are you trying to prove? She snapped. You think shutting off Netflix makes you powerful? No, I said, walking past her. But this might. I opened my laptop and cast the screen to the TV. It was a compilation video, photos, texts, even audio from a phone I'd planted in the bedroom after catching her the first time. Her voice, moaning, laughing, saying my name as a joke. She stared at the screen like it was a bomb about to go off. How did you? She started, but I cut her off. You gave me everything, I said. I just paid attention. She lunged for the laptop, but I closed it calmly. I haven't sent it anywhere yet, I said. But I might. Depends on how you behave from now on. Her eyes widened. You're threatening me? No, I said. I'm giving you terms. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Good. Here's how this works now, I continued. You don't touch my money. You don't touch my things. You don't speak my name unless someone asks you why your wedding got canceled. You smile and you lie. And if you can't do that, I press send. She didn't speak for a long time. I walked away and left her in the dark, sitting on the couch where I once begged her to love me. Now she was the one trying to figure out what I'd do next. I thought I had control. That's the worst part. I actually believed, for a few brief days, that I was ahead of her. But Melissa didn't fold. She adapted. It started subtly. First, she stopped texting me. No insults, no threats, no begging. Just silence. I should have known that wasn't surrender, it was calculation. Then came the call from my boss. Evan, he said, hesitating, I don't want to get in the middle of your personal life, but someone emailed HR this morning. An anonymous tip. Said you were misusing client data, that you were unstable. We have to investigate. You're on temporary leave starting now. I froze. He sighed. I'm sorry. This'll blow over. But right now, the company needs to protect itself. I didn't need to ask who sent the email. It wasn't about getting me fired. It was about showing me how quickly she could flip the script. I went home and logged into my LinkedIn. My inbox was full. Friends, colleagues, some of them just confused. Some not so subtle. Hey man, everything okay? Just heard some stuff. She was poisoning my name. I stormed into the apartment that night, heart pounding, ready to explode. She was on the couch, barefoot, painting her toenails like nothing was happening. You told my job I was unstable? She didn't look up. Nope. Don't lie to me. She blew on her nails. Why would I waste time emailing a company full of men who all ignored your breakdown at the Christmas party last year? You embarrassed yourself just fine without me. My jaw tightened. You're playing dirty now, I said. She met my eyes, finally, and her smile was colder than I'd ever seen it. You showed me how. You want a war, Evan? Fine. But don't whine when it stops being fair. Then she got up, walked past me, and whispered near my ear. And if I go down, I'm taking your secrets with me. That's when I remembered. She had dirt too. Not scandal. Worse, emotional history. The panic attacks I'd hidden. The anxiety meds I'd flushed after a bad night. The months I couldn't get out of bed after my dad died. She'd seen me at my weakest, and now she was using that to paint me as unwell. And the worst part? She was smart about it. She didn't accuse me publicly. She just planted seeds. 3 of her friends suddenly unfollowed me. A neighbor I'd known for years crossed the street when she saw me coming. Someone posted on Facebook, vague but cutting. Some people wear masks so well, even they forget they're broken. She was building a story, and I was the villain in it. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying everything. What she knew, how she'd twist it, what else she might do. I wanted to fight back, but I realized if I did, I'd only look more guilty, more unstable. She'd outplayed me. For now. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. The problem with people like Melissa is they always think they're the smartest person in the room. She thought ruining my job, my reputation, my mental stability, would break me. That I'd curl up and disappear. She forgot one thing. I still had the receipts. Not just the photos, the messages, the audio. I had her signature on every lease, every agreement, every account that I opened under both our names. She never read fine print. Never checked the details. She just signed. Trusted me like I once trusted her. I spent the next 48 hours building a digital folder. Every shared expense, I logged it. Every time she used my card to cover her own rent when she was between jobs, archived. That camera system I'd installed in our place for safety, I upgraded it without her knowing 2 months before the betrayal. Motion-activated footage stored in the cloud. I created 3 versions of the folder. One for my lawyer, one for the court, one for her boss. Then I made an anonymous email account and sent the third one directly to her firm's compliance officer. Subject line: Employee Melissa G., potential personal misconduct. I didn't include everything, just enough. Her using firm time and equipment to arrange her affairs. A few call logs that matched up with company hours. Screenshots of her bragging about getting away with it. That afternoon, she came home 2 hours early. She slammed the door and threw her purse on the floor. "What did you do?" I looked up calmly from the table. "I'm making lunch. Want some? You think this is a game? I could lose my job, like I lost mine." I replied. She froze. For the first time in days, she didn't have a comeback. Her face twitched, like her brain was scanning through every manipulation tool she had, but couldn't find one that fit. "You won't win," she said eventually. "You're not strong enough." I stood, walked over. "God, eye level. I don't need to be strong," I said. "I just need to be smarter than the girl who thought she could burn me and still sleep in my sheets." She opened her mouth, but I raised a finger. "Don't. Because I haven't even shown the courts the footage yet." Her eyes flickered. "What footage?" I didn't answer. I just walked out of the room and left her standing there with her mouth half open, eyes wide. That night, she didn't sleep in the bedroom. She took the couch, locked the door to the bathroom when she showered, hid her phone like a teenager. I saw the fear now, the real kind. She knew she'd pushed too far, that I had claws I'd never used before. But she wouldn't go down quietly. I knew that, and I was right, because the next move she made, it almost took me out completely. It was a Thursday when everything collapsed. I woke up early, brewed coffee, and opened my laptop to check emails. Still jobless, still hunting. I'd been lining up interviews, rebuilding what she tried to destroy. My evidence folder was ready, my lawyer was in the loop, and I was preparing to file a civil claim. I thought I was finally ahead. Then came the knock. 2 men in plain clothes, badges around their necks. "Evan Collins?" one asked. I nodded. "Yeah. What's this about? Can we come in?" Just a few questions. I let them in, heart already sinking. They sat down, opened a file, and asked me if I owned a hidden surveillance system in the apartment. I said yes. Nothing illegal, just standard security. Then they showed me a printed photo. It was Melissa, in our bedroom, naked, alone. The timestamp? Just 4 nights ago, after I'd already warned her she was being watched. "You know what this is?" the detective asked. I didn't answer. "She claims you installed surveillance to record her without consent for the purpose of blackmail," he continued. "That you've threatened to release intimate footage if she doesn't follow your demands." My hands went cold. "That's not true," I said. "I recorded to protect myself." She knew. She signed a form when I installed it. She says she never signed anything. Says you've been emotionally abusive. That you isolated her, sabotaged her career, and now you're trying to destroy her reputation. She's lying, I said too quickly. "Maybe," he replied, nonchalant. "But until we verify the paperwork and review the footage, you'll need to surrender all devices with potential recordings." I handed over the external drives. The laptop, even my phone. Melissa appeared in the hallway as they left. She was dressed sharp, hair perfect, that smug smile glued to her face like armor. "You brought cops to our home," I hissed. She tilted her head. "No, Evan. You brought them when you decided to record a woman undressing without consent. You knew about the cameras." She shrugged. "Do I look like I remember signing anything?" Poor thing. Memory must be the first thing to go when someone's mentally unstable. She walked past me and whispered in my ear, "It's your word against mine now. And I've already cried twice in front of HR." That night, I was alone in the dark. No laptop, no phone, no lawyer access. She had stripped me of everything. Worse, she'd made me look like the monster. And deep down, the old version of me, the soft, trusting fool, started to resurface. The one that thought maybe she was right. Maybe I was the problem. But then I looked around the empty living room. The couch where I once cried. The rug I bought for her birthday. The wall where our wedding photo used to hang. And I felt something shift again. Not fear. Not panic. Resolve. If she wanted war, She was about to see what I could do when I had nothing left to lose. When they took my devices, they thought they'd stripped me clean. But I had backups. She always laughed at how paranoid I was. Cloud accounts, external drives, encrypted folders. You treat your emails like classified intel, she used to say. I smiled and played dumb. She never knew that long before this war began, I'd been preparing for something I couldn't name. Now I finally knew what for. 3 days after the cops left, I walked into a small co-working space I used to rent before we moved in together. The owner still remembered me. I paid cash, asked for a private desk, and opened my old travel laptop, the one she never knew existed. Everything was there. Every message from her lovers. Every shared calendar entry that overlapped with her appointments. Every payment from my card for their dinners, hotels, and rideshares. I wasn't going to court yet. Not yet. I was going to bury her socially first. The first target? Her precious image. Melissa was obsessed with how people saw her. Always smiling, always filtered, always composed. She had this women's empowerment podcast she'd started 6 months ago. Interviews with local professionals, uplifting speeches, advice for young girls. Her social media was flooded with quotes about self-respect and honesty. I clipped together a video. Nothing explicit. Just her voice from different nights caught on audio. He's too weak to leave me. I could cheat with a literal rat and he'd still beg me to stay. I make him pay for everything. If I wanted, I could ruin his life tomorrow. Juxtaposed with her podcast clips about loyalty, trust, kindness. I sent the file to 4 people. A women's rights nonprofit she'd just partnered with. A producer at the local radio station that aired her show. 2 brands that sponsored her podcast. I didn't sign my name. I just attached the audio and let the contrast speak for itself. The fallout came fast. By Friday morning, her Instagram was flooded with comments. Is this really you, Melissa? Girl, how could you preach about integrity and say stuff like this behind closed doors? One sponsor dropped her. Then the radio station issued a vague but pointed statement about pausing partnerships pending further review. At 11:42 a.m., she burst through the apartment door, shaking. You think you're clever? She shouted. Do you know how long it took me to build that brand? About the same amount of time it took me to find out you were sleeping with the guy who cleans mold out of basements. Her hands balled into fists. This is defamation, she hissed. I didn't flinch. Nope. Just letting people hear your actual words. She stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door. 15 minutes later, I heard the unmistakable sound of her crying. Not loud, not fake, real. I stood in the hallway, listening. And for the first time since this started, I didn't feel like the weaker one. I didn't feel scared. I felt clarity. But I also knew she wasn't done. She never let someone else have the last move. And I was right. Because her next move? It almost ended everything for both of us. The silence didn't last long. By Monday morning, I was served papers. She filed a restraining order, claimed I was harassing her, threatening her safety, sabotaging her career. She said she feared for her life and needed full control of our apartment, immediately. And the court granted it. Temporary, pending investigation, but still. I had 24 hours to pack up and leave. She walked around like royalty as I shoved my life into boxes. I tried to stay calm, dignified, but inside, I was shaking. Everything I'd built, my stability, my shelter, my name, she was ripping it apart one layer at a time. She didn't stop there. 2 days later, I got a letter from the apartment board. A formal complaint had been filed against me. Anonymous. Something about erratic behavior and emotional instability. Suddenly, the board was reviewing whether I should be allowed to remain on the lease. I didn't even live there anymore. My friends stopped answering texts. A job interview got canceled the night before without explanation. She was erasing me from every angle. Quietly, surgically, and legally. And just like that, I was sleeping in my car. One night, while trying to find an open Wi-Fi signal to check my emails, I saw a post from her new account. Her old one had gone quiet, but this one was different. Darker. Rebranded. No more empowerment quotes. Now it was trauma, healing, surviving narcissistic abuse. She was telling the world I was the villain, and they were buying it. People flooded her comments with hearts and sympathy. You're so brave. Thank you for speaking out. I went through the same thing with my ex. Stay strong. I wanted to scream. She'd done it. She'd won. She destroyed my name, my job, my future. She got the apartment. She became the victim. And worst of all, she looked happy. Then, Right when I thought the war was over, came the message. It was from a burner email. No name. No context. Just a PDF file. I opened it. Inside was a scanned document. A bank statement. Not mine. Hers. A recent one. And near the bottom, highlighted in yellow, was a wire transfer. $18,000. To Westbrook Legal Group. Memo. Retainer. P. Garrison. I froze. P. Garrison. Peter Garrison was her former boss. Married. 3 kids. Fired last year for misconduct. She swore they had no contact. But this was fresh. 3 weeks ago. And Westbrook Legal Group? That was the firm handling my restraining order hearing. Suddenly, it clicked. She was funding a lawyer who used to work with Garrison. Probably still close. She was planning something else. Something worse. But now I had proof. It wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was corruption. She hadn't just lied. She'd crossed a line. And finally, I had the leverage to crush her. But I had to be careful. If I played this right, it wouldn't just end the war. It would end her. I spent the next 4 days quietly preparing her end. The bank statement was the key. It proved she was paying off the same legal network she once claimed had cut ties with corruption. I made copies. Sent one to an ethics board contact I still had from a client. Another to an investigative journalist who covered local legal fraud cases. And the third? I slid that one into an envelope addressed to her. No return address. Just her name. I wanted her to feel it before she saw it. On the morning of her court hearing, the one she scheduled to permanently remove me from the lease, I waited. Not in the courtroom. Not even near the courthouse. I waited across the street. 10 minutes before the hearing, she walked out of the building, pale, shaking, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. She spotted me. She didn't yell. She didn't run. She crossed the street slowly, heels clicking, her eyes glassy with something I hadn't seen in her since this all began. Fear. Evan, she said, voice thin, I need to talk to you. I didn't say a word. She reached into her purse and pulled out the envelope I'd sent. Please, this isn't what you think. I tilted my head. No, I said. You paying off the old firm of the guy you slept with while trying to erase me from my own life. I think I understand it pretty well. Tears welled in her eyes. They weren't supposed to know. It was a mistake. I was scared. Peter said he could make the order stick permanently. I didn't know what else to do. You always know what to do, I said. That was your game, remember? She took a shaky breath. I thought I could control it. I thought if I made you look like the bad one, I'd stay clean. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean to? I laughed bitterly. You destroyed my job, my home, my name. Then she did something I never imagined. She dropped to her knees. Right there on the sidewalk. Cars passed. People stared. She didn't care. Her voice cracked. Please don't send that file to the bar. Or the press. Please, Evan. I'll say whatever you want. I'll take it all back. I'll clear your name. Just don't end me. She reached for my hand. I have nothing left. If that gets out, I'll lose everything. I looked down at her. This woman who once laughed in my face. Who called me weak. Who said I'd never be man enough to stand up to her. And now, here she was, begging for mercy in public. I let the silence stretch. Felt the weight of it. Then I pulled the second envelope from my coat. The one I hadn't mailed yet. I held it out. Her eyes widened. She reached for it with trembling hands. I pulled it back just an inch. You're going to fix everything, I said. Withdraw every lie. Pay me back. Publicly clear my name. I will, she whispered. If you cross me again, I said, leaning close, I won't hold back next time. No kneeling. No warning. Just impact. She nodded, mouth trembling. I handed her the envelope. Turned. Walked away. And I never looked back. But even now, some nights, I sit with that memory. Her face. Her tears. Her fall. And I ask myself the one question I've never answered. What would you have done in my place?